almost there. 13.3, conditionnel. So, just to start off, the conditional is not a tense. It's not past, present, future. It is a mood, like the imperative, a command. You're telling somebody to do something. Or our subjunctive, which is more about doubts and desires, like we were just talking about. Well, and the conditional is more that you're requesting something. There's a wish or request, which you've seen already. So once we get into how this is made, you'll recognize the conditional. You already know it, from French 1 even. Also, possibility, hypothesis, a hypothetical situation, and the discours rapporté. So the reason I starred these two is because these are the two that we're going to focus on, and these are the two that are more advanced, and this one way more advanced. Okay, so let's look at how we make them. Good news, it works just like the futur simple. So how do I mean by that? I mean, you take the infinitive. So let's say the let's see. Well, let's go to one of the. I'm trying to go to. We'll just stick with the like a regular one for now. We won't use the irregulars. So je parlais. We have I to speak. We have our infinitive. Now let's add the endings. So we started with our infinitive, just like we did for the futur simple, and now we're going to add the endings right on the end, just like we did for the futur simple, but we're going to have different endings. Good news, guys. The endings are the same as the imparfait. So you already know these. This is old hat. All right. Remember? So let's do SST. We'll have ONS, EZENT. Remember, in the boot we're going to go AI, and then we'll just add an I here. Those are the endings. So we have je parlerai. Now, if you're paying attention really closely, you might realize that the futur simple is je parlerai. And that's, unfortunately, the one in the je form is the one that is the most similar, because we have AIS and AI. Tiny difference, je parlerai, je parlerai. This is more the A, this is more the A. And when you try to hear the difference, it's very minute. I'm exaggerating a lot. So, bottom line, you just need to know the context to tell if it is the futur simple, like I will do it, or the conditionnel, which, let's get into that, is the I would do it. So I will speak and I would speak. Okay? So we'll do would. And that's why when we were talking about the imparfait, I was telling people not to use Google Translate because they were tapping in. I would go to the beach every day when they were telling me what they used to do. And that's the difference. In English, we could use the word would to express habits, like what you used to do, but we would also express conditions or being polite, like a wish or a request. But when you're trying to go from your English to the French, you need to use your brain. Google Translate cannot tell what you're trying to say. They're only seeing the word would, which I just said can mean two different things in English, so you need to pick which one we're going for here. So it's I would speak, and we're talking about a wish or request. So let's go to the words that you've already seen here, okay? You've already seen them probably in the restaurant unit. Je voudrais un coca. So we have our regular stem, just like we did for the futur simple. Same ones. So the futur simple and the conditional both draw from the same regular stems, which that's good. That's good. Less work. Just memorize that list, and you can use them for both. So I would like. Je voudrais un coca. So a wish or a request. And then maybe est-ce que je pourrais. So you're saying more like could I. So instead of saying je veux, I want, you would say I would like. Instead of I can or can I, you're saying could I. And instead of saying I have to, you were saying should I. Or maybe you should. Tu devrais. So instead of saying tu dois, like you have to do this, you're more saying you should do this. It's more polite. Tu devrais instead of tu dois. Okay? So less polite, more polite. Okay? Less polite, more polite. So that's our wish, our request for being more polite just by using the conditional mood. Now what I mean by possibility is that you can't confirm that it's true, and why we're going to skip over this is because journalists use the conditional a lot when they're speaking about something that really hasn't been confirmed. They're just reporting that something like reportedly happened, so they're going to use the conditional. Sounds strange to us, but you're just confirming, you're reinforcing the idea that you don't know these things for sure. They've been reported, but there's going to be an investigation about it that's going to confirm whether these belong in the facts mood, the indicative mood, right? So again, we're not going to focus on that. That's why I didn't put a star there. So hypothetical. This is what we're going to do. Especially, we'll focus on the next part, hypothetical situation, and it's if I was rich, I would. Okay, and I would do something based on a condition. So the condition is if I was that condition, what would happen? What would I do now? Based on that condition, what would happen? Hence, conditional. Okay? So, and we'll talk about this a little more, but I'll show you. Okay, so si j'étais, if I was, we're going to the imperfect here, un animal, okay? Je serais. So we have our same irregular base as we use for the futur simple. We add this ending here, je serais, and remember future is going to look exactly the same just without the S, but we're saying if I was an animal, I would be. Okay, je serais un chat, je serais un chien, je serais un dauphin, whatever you want. Okay, we'll go over that more in 13.4. But again, just to emphasize, it's a condition. So it's based on some other condition that happens. And then the discours rapporté is like a reported discourse. Basically, you're reporting that someone else said something. And instead of putting it in quotes, you're not saying, he said, quote, I am going to study. What you could say in English as well as in French, instead of again, he said, quote, I am going to study, you say, he said he would study. So that's our discours rapporté. We're not going to spend too much time on that, but I just want you to know that exists. And that's why we would use the conditional too. So the teacher said there would be a test, instead of the teacher said, like, quotes, there's going to be a test. That's just what that is. You'll go over that more in French 3 and 4, but that's something else. We're really going to focus on the hypotheticals, like if this, then that, and we'll go over that more in 13.4, the last lesson. Au revoir.